As you can see here, the first stage, described as primary disorder, is spheric shaped and does form a cavity within the hyperspace that does exist outside the confines of the first creation. The hyperspace is infinite and consistent with the second object of the larger duality of the second concept of 5, and is cancelled out due to its neutrality, in the very same manner in which the second object of the larger duality, under consideration of the second concept of 5, is being cancelled as well. After the cancellation of the second object of the larger duality, we are only looking at the remaining two objects of the lesser duality, which is the transcendent object and the immanent object of the lesser duality of the second concept of 5. The primary disorder, marked in blue, forms the actual cavity within the infinite hyperspace, is consistent with the transcendent object of the second concept of 5, while the inferior, adjacent, primary order, marked in red, is consistent with the immanent object of the second concept of 5, in the very same manner in which only the two directly juxtaposed objects of the second concept of 5 are being considered after the neutralization of the second object of the larger duality due to its neutrality. So are we only going to look at the direct juxtaposition of both the primary disorder and primary order of the two directly juxtaposed objects of the first creation, while not regarding the infinite and neutral transcendent hyperspace that does transcend the confines of the first creation. The primary disorder that is directly adjacent to the primary order of the first creation is consistent with the very beginning of the fourth moment that is formed by the cavity that we also know from the transcendent object of the second concept of 5 that is directly adjacent to the inferior immanent object of the second concept of 5. So is also the second stage, meaning the primary order, directly adjacent to the primary disorder. In the very same manner in which the secondary disorder of the immanent persona is placed in between the primary immanent persona and the secondary immanent persona, so is the secondary disorder placed right in between the primary order and the secondary order of the first creation. The secondary disorder that is marked in blue and that is placed right in the center of both orders is, as we already discussed, the third stage of the stack. The secondary order that is being consistent with the secondary immanent persona is the so-called fourth stage that poses as the most inferior stage of the stack. The directly adjacent upper side of the primary order that is directly adjacent to the primary disorder is consistent with the very end of the second moment that we know from the architecture of the immanent persona as well. In the very same manner in which there's a gap between the transcendent object and the immanent object of the second concept of 5 and the transcendent persona and the immanent persona, so is there a gap in between the primary order and primary disorder of the first creation as well, as you can see here, which is being called the gap of the third moment. In the very same manner in which the first moment is the most inferior element of the immanent persona or the immanent object of the second concept of 5, so is the first moment the most inferior position of the entire stack and poses as the very center of the first creation, while the end of the second moment poses as the very upper fringe of the first creation. So does the first moment and the end of the second moment, as the two absolute elements of the immanent persona accentuate the immanent persona itself. And so does the first moment and the end of the second moment also accentuate the immanent object of the second concept of 5. As you can see here, the secondary order, meaning the most inferior stage of the stack, is unlike all other stages. Not two-dimensional, but three-dimensional. All four stages of the stack are two-dimensional. The very body of the secondary order, as the most inferior stage of the stack, is not two-dimensional but three-dimensional, which can be deemed as an additional fifth stage of the entire stack, meaning what clearly differentiates the fifth stage from all other four stages of the stack is that the fifth stage is three-dimensional while all other stages of the stack are two-dimensional. Interestingly, every two-dimensional stage, meaning all four stages except for the fifth stage, have on the one side an orderly side and on the other side a disorderly side, meaning the upper side of the stage is curved outwardly and is therefore orderly, while at the same time the inferior side of the stage is bent inwardly and is therefore at the same time disorderly. This does not apply to the fifth stage, because the additional fifth stage is three-dimensional. It can only have one orderly side.